Live from America's home for motorsports, we welcome race fans, one and all, back to Green Flag TV. This afternoon, we get set to duke it out for some good old-fashioned racing action. It's mini stocks and street stocks for the ASRL Winter Series in a doubleheader 30-minute main event. My name is Old Rebel alongside Scott Rang, and we are bringing you all of racing action from start to finish on this absolutely spectacular Sunday afternoon. It, of course, is going to be the start of what will be 5 total race weekends throughout the course of this championship. Make that 6 weeks throughout the course of the championship. The schedule goes a little something like this. We started off here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Then we go to the Lanier National Speedway. Then the Southern National Motorsports Park. Then the Phoenix Raceway. Then Tsukuba Circuit. And we close things out over in Virginia at the Langley Speedway. Each race will feature a 30-minute race with the mini stocks, followed by a 30-minute race with the street stocks. There are 3 championships that are going to be in play this afternoon. And of course, those championships, you got one individually for the mini stocks, one individually for the street stocks, and then one that combines the two for a good old Ironman championship. This is going to be absolutely spectacular, especially since here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, this may as well be a super speedway with the likes of Daytona or Talladega for these tiny little low-powered mini stocks. Topping out in solo runs at speeds of around 146 to 150 miles an hour, in particular down the back straight, makes this such an interesting and such a unique drive to have to figure out over the course of this run, and there's still, of course, a long way to figure out how everything is going to be panning on out for racing action here this afternoon. But for now, there's still a long way to go, and well, Scott, that sounds like things are sort of behind the scenes. This is going to be a good one tonight. I mean, we are in for a wild show.
Yeah, look, I messed my timings up just a little bit, all right? So you're gonna have to make sure that you punish me for that later. Good news, though, everyone. I'm gonna make sure that there's an extra additional entry later on for the street stocks. I really like this format. 2 different cars, and you were talking about it a little bit last time we were on air for these guys as well, Nolan, about how different cars suit different drivers. I'm a big truck guy. I'm really, really good in the trucks. I just can't match where the skill level that I have in the truck anywhere else. So what it creates is just a unique field, unique format, and I'm going to be getting behind the wheel of a street stock here in a little bit.
Ah, so you are going to be joining them on the starting grid then later on, are you?
That's correct, yeah. Chaos will abound.
Oh boy, I cannot wait. It's always a joy to be able to have one of our commentators down on the racetrack. I assume you're still going to be keeping me company up here in the broadcast booth, I would hope.
You bet. You bet. I would never miss an opportunity on a lovely working Monday to harass my favorite buddy, Nolan.
I would certainly hope not. And of course, we got a lot of action ahead of us tonight. Again, 30 minutes with the mini stocks, 30 minutes with the street stocks. You get to take this chance, Scott, then, to kind of scout things out, see what the racing action is going to look like this afternoon. 13 cars are in the midst of qualifying, and they are getting ready to rumble. So tell you what, we're going to take ourselves a quick jump back and take a listen in to the United States of America National Anthem, and we will return for the starting grid.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave?
All right, national anthem has been sung. The command has been given to start to grid on up. We are ready to see how things line on up for the first of two half-hour features on Sunday night. It is, of course, Brody Gunter kicking things off with a 36.556 for 510, racing alongside Matt Schlosser. Dead tie for the front row. Down on road number 2, it is Mark Krenke alongside Dylan Grutzmacher with Joshua Higgy and Jake Erickson then to close out the top half of the field here, Scott.
Yeah, and then moving on back to Joshua Rutherford, just over a 10th out from the pole time, and 1/1000th behind Jake Erickson is the start of row number 4. Nate Morris will be alongside of him to his outside. 3,000ths back from Morris will be Corey Rutherford in his work-in-progress racing machine. Rene Garcia rounds out your top 10. Alex Howell, the first driver outside the 10. Travis Fleming to his outside on row number 6. And finally, rear of the field, Casey Campbell in the 13th spot.
And with that, we are ready to do battle once again from Racing Action here this afternoon. Gonna be a wild one, gonna be a fun one, and right now, just waiting on Joshua Higgy to grid on up, and we'll get this show on the road. Scott, usually this is the time where we start to speculate who we think might be on top with when it comes to Racing Action this afternoon. This is one of those times, though, where it really is impossible to try to get a handle on who's going to take home the checkered flag this afternoon.
Yeah, so what you'll actually see when we go to the street stocks a little bit later on is that there is some tire wear in those machines. But other than that, this has a real super speedway style feeling. These cars don't max out. They've not got the gear ratio, they've not got the horsepower to go any higher in terms of the gear ratio, so they actually start topping out. You can't really get any more speed out of them. This is going to have a super speedway style vibe to it. 1.5 miles, and well, the cars sort of move around a little bit. They're a little bit loose in the rear end. The benefit of the mini stocks compared to the street stocks is because they've got that shorter chassis, they rotate quicker. They don't have to put as much force in to get the rear tires to come around. Creates a looser feeling car, which means it's actually lighter and more nimble. When you think of a lever, right? The longer the lever, the more work you sort of got to put in. It's a little bit easier to turn the end of the lever, but it's got to travel much, much further to get that car to rotate. That's, I believe it's working advantage or whatever the technical term is for the benefit of a lever. But what it does create is a slower rotating car. So mini stocks, you're going to see them a little bit lighter, a little bit dancier on their feet, and it's going to be pack style racing here from Charlotte Motor Speedway.
It absolutely will be, and we are rolling ourselves now in towards the Geico restart zone, and we are, I think, just about ready to finally take a trip down and get this winter season underway. Brody Gunter, now defending champion for the ASRL Next Gen Cup Series, will lead the way with Matt Schlosser to his outside. We are going to work our way into the Geico restart zone. Let's go winter season racing at America's home for motorsports.
And there was a few missed gear shifts on that start and all, and these things don't like to get through the gears. You've really got to be patient with them. And the thing is, when you jump out of a racing car into something that's a lot more like the road-going variant, they don't have those quick shift style setups within the cars. They're 3 wide in the middle of the pack as well. Keep your eyes up for Rene Garcia. He shoved the nose to the middle of Nate Morris.
Shoving his nose right to that middle lane as we will look to click off the first 30 seconds of this 30-minute race here this afternoon. Brody Gunter leads the way off of turn number 4.
Contact.
Bit of contact in the back. Got one car sliding into the infield. Grounds now contact again as it comes back up.
Yeah, it was Joshua Rutherford. He just made contact with Corey Rutherford. I just missed the first car that he did make contact with as well. Might have been Travis Fleming actually in the 26th entry. So that's broken the pack up a little bit. Little bit of a split. You'll see them surge as they come back together. Don't go down below that line. That's gonna be a legal overtake. You'll have to hand that one back.
Mark Krenke down to the inside of Joshua Rutherford, still maintaining that strong position. They are still double file for the race lead between Gunter and Schlosser as they work their way out of turn number 4 with right now 28.5 minutes left to go on the clock. It's very different, right, having a timed race on an oval as opposed to a race based off of lap counts. Does that change at all how you approach a race like this?
It definitely does. It's just not as much as you think it is. What you're trying to do is you pick up, what are my lap times? What am I looking at to really set it? Qualifying. Think about the lap times from qualifying. 36.556 was the pole time, all the way down to at the rear end of the field at 37 flat. So covered by about half a second. That says that your lap differential speed, there's not a huge spread in terms of that one, exactly kind of what we expect. Getting into the race, our fastest times up near the pointy end of things, Travis Fleming just dipped into the 35s. So what that means is we're probably targeting about a 36.2 to a 36.3 lap time. You're sort of trying to break up your 30-minute race by those times. What's it going to mean in terms of lap count? We're looking probably somewhere around the 50 lap mark.
Three wide for a brief moment. Rene Garcia pushing up to the outside line for the ESGI Motorsports number 74 entry. Now, here we go, completely packed up, nose to tail, save for a trio that have dropped off of the leading group. Corey Rutherford, Josh Rutherford, and Casey Campbell have been hemorrhaging time ever since they got separated from this pack. Right now, though, it is just an absolute hornet's nest of cars right in the midst of this battle pack. And among those is, of course, one Jake Erickson struggling to just maintain any kind of momentum. He is trapped in the mid-pack.
Yeah, that's not a spot you want to be as well. It's difficult in these sorts of situations because compared to, you know, the trucks, the Xfinity Series, the Next Gens, the Cup Series, generally those cars have all got restrictor plates in them for this kind of racing, right, to settle the cars down. Well, these cars just can't get that fast. They can't get that amount of speed up. So they don't actually have the restrictor plates. So instead of having packs that form that sort of surge and swell and then, you know, wane in terms of things, it doesn't really move that way. So you just see guys sort of stuck, and it's going to be this way for a little bit until you get enough heat, until you get enough wear in those tires, where the cars start to walk around a little bit. Cool track tonight here, Nolan, as well, which means that that's going to take a fair bit longer. If I'm sitting in this back in this three wide situation, I'm probably just going to the back. I'm just looking to just be a little bit lifty on entry, save some front right. It won't help me right now, but in about 15 minutes it will.
It's always interesting when we talk about this again in minutes instead of laps. It's a bit foreign, honestly, if you ask me. Brody Gunter right to the back of Matt Schlosser, the number 400 car that had tied Gunter for that top spot on the grid. Now trying to jump down and clear. Could get caught in the sucker hole here, though. Rene Garcia going to go to the high side. Hegan going with him. Schlosser with no help in the middle. Right now, no help in that middle lane for Matt Schlosser. Rene Garcia and Higgy still trying to find something up top, and Nate Morse going with him. Nobody wants to help that 400 car right now.
Yeah, you gotta find your friends as well. Have a look at the run building to the outside, though. Higgy's found a partner. It's the 74 machine of Garcia. Garcia certainly had some speed. How about the kittens just in front of his rear tire? That guy out there is making sure they're not pussyfooting it around, to use an Australian term.
All things considered, Matt Schlosser still did a good job on trying to hold station in that middle line. It's really in the quad oval where he loses so much of that time as he is continuing to get shuffled out further and further towards the rear of this race. Gunter continuing to lead the way strong. Garcia now to the outside. Brody Gunter has so far been doing everything he needs to do to make sure that he keeps that car right up in the middle of this pack, right where he wants it to be. And now he's got Mark Krinke right up the back bumper.
Interesting fact, there was actually a little bit of discussion. This is going back to qualifying results and pre-races. We're sort of just watching this stagnate out a little bit. There was some discussion from Matt Schlosser about, well, I matched his race time, and that was Brody Gunter's qualifying time. Well, how come I didn't get the pole? A little bit of discussion back and forth about what the tiebreaker is. And somebody said in chat that one set of timing software had actually rounded the timing up. iRacing does capture an extra digit. It's just not displayed anywhere. You literally have to have timing software that's capable of displaying the extra digit. No one knows it's there. It's there, and there is a tiebreaker if it goes down to the 10,000th of a second for the pole time.
Of course, that is something that many drag racing fans would be quite familiar with. Oftentimes, more modern systems like AccuTime, they do tend to monitor down to the 10,000th of a second. And heck, even CompuLink on Windows DOS monitor down to the 10,000th. But just like here on iRacing, it just never showed it.
Yeah. So it is there, and yeah, going back to the poll time, that one was decided by lap time, not by when it was set or anything. Do you remember the Formula One race? I think it might have been, was it Imola? Whereby there was 3 lap times set, they were all identical. It'd come down to who set it first.
Yeah.
Was that the 70s?
It had to have been. It was back when they were using stopwatches.
Yeah. So, it is possible, but yeah, we have the way of tie-breaking this one. I'm just watching a little bit. Who's that at the back that's just swung really, really high and wide? When you had a look at Rene Garcia move his way towards the front end of this pack, they sort of backed it off a little bit, built the momentum, got 2 cars sort of formed up, and then they built this run. And that's sort of the only way you're going to be able to surge it forward. It reminds me back of my IndyCar racing days. A bit of advice I got given was that when you're running in an IndyCar around the bottom of a track and there's not really any tire fall off, the guy that's in front's got control of the pack. He's totally and utterly in control of who wins that race. If he makes a mistake, well, that's when somebody else can surge and take it. But there is a way around that, and the way around that is it's not the first guy sitting in behind him that drafts past him to take it. It's actually the next guy in line. So what you got to do? You got to sit on back, you got to build momentum, and you got to take 2 cars to overtake him. And that second car has to work with the third car to give them the inside lane with the momentum to get the job done. You don't do it that way, you don't steal it. It's much the same here.
Right now, Corey, Joshua Rutherford, along with Casey Campbell, they have just been mired at the back of the pack. They have linked up. They're not losing anymore. But right now, it is impossible for them to catch this big pack up in the front. They are begging for a caution to get themselves back into contention.
Yeah, 8 minutes on the clock as well in terms of race time. So time, you know, we're not quite at the 3rd race distance at the moment it's coming. Have a look at the momentum that started to build on that outside lane. The 313 machine of Krinke is not giving the drafting support they need. And have a look at through the middle as Travis Fleming gets aggressive. The 25 machine up into the barriers. He's going to scrub some speed. He's going to drop out of this battle pack. And that might just be another car that falls to the wayside and connects up. Makes a 4-car train off the back end of the pack now.
Already lost the draft of this leading train, so they will drop back now. Only 9 cars out of the 13 remain in the top runs. 4 on the top and 5 down low. And I think everything we're seeing now, you have to try to start racing strategically here if you really want to try to get any kind of a momentum run going. You cannot afford to be making moments like that happen all that often. And boy, I mean, tell you what, this race has been a wild one so far, but nowhere near the end of it. We're only at the 1/3 mark.
I think it's really interesting. It's feeling a little bit more like an eliminator, right? Every couple laps we lose a car. And we're already on to our 16th lap of this race in not yet 10 minutes. So lap times have been pretty hot. We're racing really, really nicely. And the thing for Travis Fleming is he's been a little bit aggressive. He's been the guy that wants to shove the nose in, go 3 wide and try and nick a position. Right now, though, he's going to build that run again, try and build some advantage, and then go and slingshot past. And it comes down to the guy ahead of him leaving the door open. And look, Josh Higgie's not going to leave that door open. That changes now.
Coming around down to turn number 1. Brody Gunter maintaining his strong run down to the inside of the racetrack.
We got the apron. He got the apron there.
Yeah. Oh, right up the racetrack, and this could be what cost Gunter the lead.
Oh.
Quick to the inside. We're looking for 3 wide. Fleming tried to cut down low. No one let him in. Now Schlosser's up into the wall at 4.
And Schlosser's going to lose the pack here, I think. Oh, he might have just barely hung on to it. And it's because the pack's all broken at the moment. 3 wide at the front end of things. Krinke tried to get to the inside. No support in the middle for Brody Gunter. Garcia's got Higgie. Higgie's been his biggest ally all night long. Swings it back to the high side. Krinke's going to try and find some time. All this stemmed from the moment that Brody Gunter had a little bit of problems trying to get the car to tip into 1 and 2. Caught the apron. Now they grind against the fence on the backstretch.
Coming down to the turn number 3, Krinke working the bottom side, Gunter in the middle, Garcia with help from Higgie up on top, the 57 car of Jake Erickson, not really helping Krinke out much on the bottom side, just kind of trying to hold station, and somehow Brody Gunter with no help at all is hanging on for the race lead in that middle lane, but he is struggling to keep any kind of pace up.
He needs some...
Oh no!
There's Krinke! Oh, huge wreck! Huge wreck!
1 car leapt up into the air. I think that was Higgie that almost went over on the inside of the racetrack. There's the caution that the Rutherfords that Schlosser, that Campbell needed to get back into contention.
I was just about to say Schlosser had stayed in the draft barely. He was clinging onto it, and he was hoping that they were going to keep pushing a 3-wide wall of air ahead of him. But Ericsson's going to get his way on through and grab it. Check this out. It's on Gunter. Watch the car in the middle. That 0-1 machine gets a little bit of a wobble in. Krinke comes off the bottom of fraction, and then Gunter comes down, and they just hook.
Vicious hit into the wall. Then there goes Higgy up into the air. Slams into the inside wall while Garcia, Krinke, and Gunter all go careening directly into the outside safer barrier on a violent wreck in turn 2.
Yeah, that was huge. That was a big wreck. So that's going to take out a number of cars. So what, 1, 2, 3 automatically involved. None of the rest of the guys that came through seemed like they got too heavily hit, and it looks like it was just Gunter, Higi, Garcia. So it looks like 4 cars involved.
Is on board with Joshua Higi, and jeez, that is a ride. I think Schlosser escaped that down low. That is the car that got up and underneath him.
There's no fast repair, by the way, and there's no spare tires. So what that does mean was that they are basically done for this session. And the other thing is, for anyone who went for a wild ride, oh, look at the 26 machine. Involved, but got away with it.
That's Travis Fleming, and he was the one that Higi ended up on top of.
Oh,
you can't even react to that. There's no way you can react to that.
He's just committed. Even if he comes off the throttle, like, he's still hitting things.
And
doesn't matter.
This is Nate Morris. He's now up to 4th because of this.
For me, that's a lot of risk. That's a lot of risk, and you know the minis can lift off. Again, we're talking about cars that are in effectively street configuration with some roll bars on them, a little bit better tires, you know, some safety features involved in them. But you can lift, right? You've got the ability to lift, to brake. You can't do it aggressively. You can't maneuver this car all over the racetrack. But what you can do is prevent yourself from piling into a wreck like that. So I'm a little bit disappointed in the way he's gone in there.
Take one more look at the airborne wreck here. Look at how high Garcia lifted off the ground. Then look at how high Higi got catapulted off the nose of the Havoline 26. There was Schlosser just barely squeaking by that on the inside line. That could have been a much worse incident, but I think that is still one of the biggest wrecks you're going to be seeing this afternoon.
It was a huge one. Again, it just comes down to how small and agile the cars are. They're light little cars, but you know they maintain a reasonable amount of speed. We'll be on green this time too, as the lights on the safety car have come off. But yeah, rough hit. That's gonna. Well, we were talking about the fuel getting trimmed down. They've been trimmed down again. Hey, how about a caution right on the halfway mark? Stage points, anyone?
I don't think they offer those here. 9 cars remain in this race. All 9 of them are still on the lead lap. The ones that are right now out of this race, unsurprisingly so. Krinke, Higi, Gunter, Travis Fleming evidently did get enough damage to knock him out of contention. Shocked that Rene Garcia is still out there on the racetrack.
Well, Garcia and Fleming, I think, are getting repairs and cycling their way back to the rear end of the... No, Fleming's now spent a long time in pit lane. Sorry, my apologies. But Garcia was certainly cycling around. I think there's a couple guys at the back there that are just doing everything they possibly can just to keep themselves in the race. Garcia is really, really bent up. So he's not going to be quick.
It was an intense opening salvo of laps. It's going to be an intense closing salvo as well. What do you think, Scott? Think we're done yet?
No, I think we might be. It depends, though, on this restart. There's going to be a wreck on the restart.
Answer is a solid no to that one, I guess. And with Joshua Rutherford, or, well, not Josh Rutherford, one of the Duff cars finding the outside wall at the tail of the field. That has really broken up this field on that restart.
Yeah, so I think Corey Rutherford missed a shift is what happened there. And, Renee got into him, so I don't know whether or not Renee started in a lower gear. But you can just see Corey never went anywhere, and Renee sort of left with nowhere to go.
And all of that takes us back to live pictures. Howland, Schlosser, Erickson, and Moore all still under a blanket. I think we're going to end up only having about a 6-car, maybe a 7-car pack here. No, it is going to end up being a 6. Casey Campbell will be the last one that could possibly tag onto this one.
Yeah, I mean, he's run a quiet race as well. He's been at the back end. Now he gets an opportunity. Grutzmark is still handling issues. He looks like he's got a relatively clean car, so he's lost the rear end of that pack, unfortunately for him. 4 cars queued up in the inside lane.
4 cars all down on the low side. Alex Howland into the side of Joshua Rutherford almost as they reach the quad oval. It's almost like they get started to split into a 3v3 type of situation now.
You know, just taking a look at these cars, Nolan, and I just realized one thing. They've all got their lights still on them. Those are not stickers. Where's the lights? Where's the lights, guys? I want to see some brake lights on these things. Why do mini stocks not have brake lights? I just got the wall.
I hate to break it to you. I think they are stickers because I'm looking at Josh Rutherford and I don't see no lights on that car. I hate to break it to you.
Okay. I might have pulled the trigger a little too soon there.
Yeah, I don't see any brake lights on that 64 car. I don't know about you. I mean, I see where they should be. Looks can be deceiving.
Yeah, it certainly can be. But it's interesting just to know what everyone's doing at this point in time, because that should have taken the fuel window out of the equation. I think we should be green to go to the end of the race now without another stop. But remember what I said, there's no tires here. So for these guys who burn their tires off, just staying within that lead pack, well, all of that advantage they might have had has now been worn off. And the biggest thing is these tires do wear. So big track here, a lot of heat gets put through those right side tires here for these sorts of cars. And remember, they're not a full racing slick. These are, I believe, a groove tire as well. So they're going to take a shooting, my word, the block.
Yeah, Schloss, I think he might have been given a bit of a bad bump there from Alex Howland. That put him down onto the apron, and it allows for Joshua Rutherford and Nate Morris to try to get a run going. They're going to go up to the high side here in turns 3 and 4. We're about to see some tandem drafting just like we did in NASCAR back in 2010, 2011. Into the wall goes Rutherford.
The front straight here, I've never been a big fan of Charlotte. I always lose where I am. Atlanta's another one. Texas is another one of those front straights. Sometimes you just lose where you are relative on the racetrack. And it's very, very difficult to see, particularly later in the afternoon and into the night. The shadows up against the wall, you can't really clearly delineate where that outside barrier is on the front straight. Sometimes you just clip it.
And especially so, when you're in the midst of a big pack of cars like this, and everybody's kind of packed up around each other, you're more or less following the car in front of you and hoping they know where they are.
Yeah, it might be worthwhile going for a ride on with Josh Rutherford the next time by on that front straight, just to sort of give our viewers a bit of a... The thing is, you look at it from this angle and you go, oh, well, they should be able to see a whole bunch. When you're in a pack like this, you see nothing. You're literally relying on the guy ahead of you.
10 minutes to go in this race. Still trying to see who's going to end up where. And this one, I think, could be a little bit, just a little bit intense here as we get down to the closing stages. So you got Alex Howland drifting up a little bit, nearly getting back into the door of Matt Schlosser. Same for Nate Morris, washing him off that inside.
Tell you what, how hard are these engines working here? Because these guys have been flat out now for a long period of time. There'd be some hot exhaust pipes. That engine bay would be glowing. You'd lift the lid on that thing and it would be glowing and underneath there.
So we have lost our timing overlay. We are working to get that back up for you. But right now, Alex Howland, Matt Schlosser, Nate Morris, Josh Rutherford, Case Campbell, Erickson, and Grutzbacher. Well, just those 6 are up at the front. Dylan Grutzbacher running back at the number 7 spot. Corey Rutherford back in 8th. And then way off the pace is Rene Garcia all the way back in 9th. So at this point, I would say you've got yourself a 6-horse race for the win here.
Yeah, potentially, barring any more issues. I can tell you we've got about 8 minutes and 45 seconds left on this one, so gonna be in the realm of, say, 15 or so laps. I would say probably gonna be 15 laps to the end of this race here. It's gonna take us through to about 46 laps.
Howland, Schlosser, Morris, Rutherford, Campbell, and Erickson. We have got things back up, and well, you're just about right on the money there as well, Scott. About 8 minutes, 20 seconds to go when we came back. Bit hard to judge by a hand, of course, when because the session timer doesn't really follow. That follows from when you first loaded into the session, right? Not with the actual green flag drop. But right now, we got the actual time, 8 minutes to go. It's about 16 laps or so, just shy of it.
It'll be less than 16 because we, for every 6 laps, you lose a lap,
16,
effectively. Yeah. So it's probably going to be about 13 or so laps, 13 or 14.
Still a good distance left. I mean, it's not like these guys need to really start worrying about making too many aggressive maneuvers just yet.
Well, you want to be in the right spot at the right time. The other thing you want to start doing is sort of just testing who's good, who you want to be working with and around. So if I'm going to win this race, I want to shuffle myself a little bit further forward, and I want to pick who I'm going to be working with. I already have some knowledge from working with these guys over an extended period of time. I got teammates in the field as well. Makes it a little bit easier. So I know about those guys. And then the other side of the coin is, well, this field's been shaken up. The guys that are normally up front, that are normally winning this race, they're not up here. So it's going to be a little bit different.
Dave Morris right now alongside Matt Schlosser, trying to push Alex Howley clear as they work their way into turn numbers 3 and 4. That Ford Motorcraft number 2 is doing a good job of holding on to things up the field, and I mean, right now, not too much. I think that the 25 car can complain about. He had dropped off the leading pack and got a lucky caution to put himself back into contention. And now I don't think he's at much risk of losing that lead so long as he doesn't get bumped out of line.
Yeah, Alex Allen's in a really, really good spot, but the push that's just come through from Josh Rutherford's been supreme. I think Jake Erickson's going to line up and try and take a crack at moving to this outside lane, so we could end up with 2 lanes of 3, which would be really, really interesting to keep an eye on.
I don't see any.
Boy!
Caution.
That's a
Hard
huge
hit. And that gets back into Joshua Rutherford, spinning around. Yellow flag will come out. And this is going to put us dangerously close to the buzzer.
We've got 6 minutes left on the clock. I think we'll get back going with about 3 or 4 to go.
They did say that if it comes down to it, they would shorten the cautions as quickly as they could in order to make sure that we could try to get these races finished under the green flag.
Yeah, so they're going to try. Do everything in their power to do it. Certainly try, but at the end of the day, it will be what it will be.
Bad bump from Morris.
Just a bad bump.
Yeah. And then Schlosser hard into that outside wall that drifted down and just right rear hook for Joshua Rutherford. Schlosser was still trying to chase it. Nothing he could have done in that situation. That sends Rutherford back into the outside wall.
No meatballs, though. No meatballs out of that one. The only meatball in the session is still Brody Gunter, and that's from the first caution. You can just see it. There's just nothing anyone could have done.
Jeez.
That one comes down to bad bump. Yeah.
Yeah. Right on board with Matt Schlosser as he took a pretty vicious impact into the outside wall with this.
Get the feeling he'll be coming out of the pit lane just for some damage repair. Oh. It's right at the kink, too.
Once again, worst possible place you can hit the wall in the quad oval. Joshua Rutherford is into pit road. Schlosser is staying out.
Oh, mustn't be too bad.
Yeah.
Must be okay.
Yeah. So we just paced around that first caution lap. Took about a minute to get around, but they were still catching up to the iRacing safety car. Trying to judge, I think we're going to have about a 1-lap dash when we get back at this rate. You see Higgy getting his wave around. Takes the lucky dog free pass. Gets one closer to the lead lap, but he is already over 10 laps off of that leading group. He is not going to be able to finish on the lead lap. He was just hoping, well, actually, in fact, 10th is the best he can possibly hope for. We're not going to have 10 laps of racing anyway.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, I think. Time to just go. To be perfectly honest, time to just go. So what I'm thinking is, if you're in that outside lane, you're just gonna back up, find your push, and just go. No more waiting. Just be aggressive. And if I'm in that outside lane and I see the momentum starting to drop off, dive into that inside lane. Just be aggressive. This could end under caution just because people just get aggressive. We'll be going green next time, by the way.
I was a bit worried. I mean, I was thinking we could end under caution right here if it came down to it. But, you know, when you get to restarts right near the end of the buzzer, iRacing timing tends to get weird with what it calls the last lap.
Yeah. So we'll find out what's going to happen here. Pack stands in the front straight away. Most fans I've ever seen for a mini stock race, so good to see them all out here.
Lights out aboard the iRacing pace car. 2.5 minutes to go. Took about 1:35 to get around under caution, so we'll restart this race with 60 seconds. 2-lap dash coming to you.
This will be interesting. This is going to be fun. Get aggressive. Have a crack, boys.
I'm just glad the math got made real easy there, so we know for sure it will be 2 laps to go at the stripe.
Well, we don't know for sure. They could just get the white flag when we go green. Who knows?
Oh, you're not wrong, because it judges based off of the average lap times before what's actually the last lap, doesn't it?
The math gets funky. Yes.
Yeah. We'll see. We won't get a white flag banner on our timing tower. We will get the checkered flag, though, so at the very least, we'll know if it's the last lap when they come off of turn 4 this next time around.
Yep, gonna be a quick little dash. Well, either way, it's only gonna be 1 or 2 laps, so, you know, 1 or 2 outcomes. Gonna be tight. This is gonna be really, really tight.
90 seconds are on the clock. We'll work our way to the Geico restart zone. Possibly a 2-lap dash, as we'll get right back to it. Green flag back in the air for the final time tonight at the Charlotte Motor Speedway and the mini stock race.
I got good news for you, Nolan. I only saw a green flag waved. I think we've got 2.
Still getting up to speed, so we should be under 35 seconds by the time we get around to take the white flag. Alex Howland jumps down in front of Nate Morris to take the lead. Casey Campbell and Matt Schlosser side by side for 3rd.
And Alex Howland nips to the outside, wants to open the corner up. The problem for Nate Morris is he can't do that. He does that, Schlosser's going to nip to his inside. So now it's going to be Schlosser who slices his way through. Morris is having a crack. He tried to get there, couldn't quite get outside. White flag in the end, on. Here we go.
Final lap from America's home for motorsports, rocketing down to the turn number 1. Howley goes up to cover the outside and immediately tries to jump down, but squeezing in Nate Morris down to the inside lane, clips the number 1 cars into the outside wall. They're spinning and wrecking on the back straightaway. Morris gonna pull even, shoved by Matt Schlosser. Schlosser trying to make something happen. Campbell trying to make something happen. Morris is clear. Contact between Howland and Schlosser. Pinched him off at turn number 4. Nate Morris, all by himself, walks it off and wins the mini stock race at the Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Whoa! Huge wreck across the line. You felt that was coming. Schlosser and Howland were just banging doors the whole time on the run down to 3 and 4 right there. I think both of them feel aggrieved with the other, like they weren't left quite enough room. I think it was just hard racing.
That's what happens when you get to a race like this on the final lap. And that is going to be that. That was a wild race indeed. And Nate Morris can proudly call himself a race winner for the first round of the ASRL Winter Series, kicking off both the overall championship and the mini stock championship on a high.
Yeah, and I tell you what, this next race is going to be just a touch faster, a little bit less swingy in terms of how the car rotated. It's a lot more planted. But Nate Morris burns it down in this one. Hey, man, he got lucky, but at the same time, it's a cross of opportunity meets skill. He was in the right place at the right time, kept the car clean, but still had to get aggressive.
Morris doing a phenomenal job on just maintaining that control this afternoon. So as he celebrates on that final run, we'll be able to take a rundown of your official post-race results this afternoon from the the first race that we had on the afternoon. Coming home at the end of the first of two this afternoon, it is going to be Nate Morris along with Max Schlosser, Alex Howland picking up the third place spot as a result. Case Campbell was down in fourth with Dylan Grutzmacher in fifth. From there was Garcia, Rutherford, Erickson, Corey Rutherford, and Joshua Hagee to round out the top 10.
Yeah, from there, it's the retirements. Unfortunately, Travis Fleming, Mark Krinke, and Brody Gunter not making it home. Krinke doing enough to put the extra lap on Brody Gunter, who did tow back to the pit lane. He was not able to drive that car back.
What a wild ride we had here this afternoon. Let's take a rundown and try to give a quick chit chat here with one Nate Morris. We'll talk to the first of the winners here this afternoon. It is Nate Morris taking things home for the first mini stock race this afternoon. Nate, that was a wild one. You were looking like you were in trouble there for a moment early on when this race first started, but you're able to rally back. You dodged the big one. You come home to take a shock win in turn 4 this afternoon.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I didn't expect that coming off of 2 at all. You know, I was trying to set it up as best I could, and I kind of figured we'd all wreck down into turn 3, and everybody held it together, which, you know, speaks for the talent level in this league. And, you know, everybody raced really, really hard and really clean for the most part, and so I'm just ecstatic to get this win here.
It's going to be the first of many, but of course it's a long championship. Are you thinking on just the mini stock championship, just the street stock championship, or are you going to try to go for the hat trick and go for the clean sweep?
I mean, we'll see how it goes for sure. You know, I'm gonna race as hard as I can in every race. You know, I'm not gonna you know, give up any. But you know, we'll just have to see how it goes. I'm just over the moon to get a win finally in this league.
Street stocks coming on up in just a few minutes time, a little bit quicker, a little bit more racy. What kind of a race do you think we'll expect for the next 30 minutes of action?
I think it's probably going to be a little bit cleaner. I mean, I say that. I think everybody's going to be pushing harder for sure. The street stocks are a little bit easier to drive than these. These are very tail happy getting into the corner. I mean, we're going to have to see how it goes. I think everybody's going to be a lot more aggressive, but the car is definitely easier to drive.
I wish you the best of luck when we return then in, well, about 5-10 minutes time or so. For now, congratulations on taking up the race win.
Thanks, guys.
Nate Morris comes home with the number 2 spot. We'll move on down to Max Schlosser coming home with the number 2 spot this afternoon, standing by with Scott Rankin.
Matt, that last few laps of that one was intense. The run building up to that. I mean, the damage on the front straightaway. We all took a look at it and went, oh, man, he's going to have to pit and take some damage for sure. How bad was that car after the slap with the outside wall?
Yeah, I can't believe it even could drive as good as it could. These mini stocks are tough as nails, but it didn't handle great. The steering was knocked out of it. It was very loose in the turns, and I just had to kind of hang on. Luckily, I think to my advantage, I restarted behind a couple guys, and I was able to use the draft to kind of build momentum because I might have been just swallowed up if I had to be out front with that damage. So I was able to hang on and finish second. It got a little shoulders being thrown there with Alex there on the last lap. I'm glad he finished third. I did not mean to put him like almost in the wall. I was just trying to lean on him a little bit. So I'm glad we both got a podium and there were no major accidents there.
I mean, that's just it at the end of these sorts of races. You know, you got these cars, these stock style cars, you got to expect a little bit of paint trade, and that's just racing, really. And, I mean, like you said, you apologize to him. It's obviously not intended to come off that way, but at the end of the day, that's you're fighting for a win at the end of this thing.
Yeah, you know, you just kind of have to get aggressive. Like, everyone's kind of going the same speed, and it's almost like a subconscious thing. You're driving these old cars with visible dents and scrapes on them. Like, you almost feel like you're going to make contact, and a little bit of bumping and trading paint is fine. Obviously, you never want to totally destroy someone, so I'm glad it was mostly all good fun. I know some other guys got caught up in wrecks, but hopefully it was mostly good racing. Nothing too negative out there, I hope.
Is there a lot of learning experiences that go in this? Because, again, different style of racing means that you can set yourself up a little bit. I think there's a lot of ability for guys to look at this and go, hey, I can work on my pack style racing here, and that's what the focus will be for the short season.
Yeah, I love this. I love these, you know, the street stocks, the mini stocks on 1.5 miles like this. It is like a drafting track, you know, like it's kind of comparable to the faster stock cars at Daytona or Talladega, but because they have such narrow tires and they don't have anywhere near the aero, they slide around a bit, so you can kind of like make moves and have fun like holding on to it and trying to, you know, put some driver input into it instead of just kind of like riding and drafting and not having much else you can do if you're in a pack. So it's kind of a cool hybrid between pack racing and also, you know, needing to kind of like control the car a certain way. I got up into the wall because I just flew up into the turn assuming it would stick and it didn't. So like it's interesting how you kind of have to balance that.
Congratulations on finishing P2. Anyone you'd like to thank for this street stock race?
Yeah, sure. You know, shout out to Corey and the admins at ASRL for putting on this little fun series. I'm excited to run it hopefully every week, and thanks to you guys at Green Flag for everything you do. Appreciate the broadcast, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Mate, congratulations, and get on over in those street stocks, and we'll see you over there.
All right, sounds good. See ya.
And that will bring us on down to Alex Howland, the man that comes home, takes the first podium of the ASRL Winter Series in 2024. Alex, that was an intense ride coming to the end. It was, of course, a finish full of beating and banging. Talk us through that final sprint to the checkered flag.
Yeah, that one was pretty wild. Didn't really expect to be in that position at the end of the race, but it was fun. I got a little loose going in 1 and 2 and just got out of shape, and they were able to make a run on me, and that was that.
Overall, despite that little hiccup, it was still a very good finish considering what happened throughout the course of this race. It's always a wild time when you have these types of low-power cars on bigger tracks like this one. Definitely racing out of their element this afternoon. Was this about what you expected coming into today?
Not really, but I guess I didn't have any expectations. I just came out for fun, so that was definitely fun. Fun racing and good result.
Street stocks coming up next in just a few moments. Are you going to be looking to go for double podiums this afternoon?
That would be nice, but you know, we'll see what happens. This will be my first time driving this car, so we'll see.
First time driving a street stock on iRacing?
I mean, since rookies.
Okay, I was about to say. Well, Alex, it's always a pleasure to be able to talk to you up here. It doesn't happen too often, but it's always good when it does. We'll see you in a few moments then for the street stock race in a few.
Thank you.
Alex Howland comes home. He will be looking to take things home once again, trying to go for double podiums this afternoon. Well, that was a fun ride, but there is still a lot more that is yet to come up on Green Flag TV with still a good deal of racing left in this one. We'll be back in a few moments on Green Flag TV while we set things up for the street stock race. We'll see you in a moment. Qualifying is still very much underway from the Charlotte Motor Speedway as we gear up for the street stock race. The car's a little bit bigger, the roar a little bit louder, and we're just a little bit quicker as well. At least that is in theory. Qualifying laps down of what we saw in the mini stock race, having to lift just a little bit, but hitting speeds in excess of 150 miles an hour for the likes of Brody Gunter. You're seeing Scott Rankin pedaling around right now in his Valvoline number 49. Scott, pretty much everybody's already put down a lap time, so now it's the countdown game to the street stock race for another 30 minutes to close out our first round of the ASRL Winter Series.
Yeah, and it's exactly like I was saying at the top of the mini stock show as well. These things don't rotate quite as quickly. A little bit more horsepower, a little bit bigger in terms of the car, but that longer chassis means they take a longer time to rotate through the corners. You're going to be scrubbing on that front right tire a lot more. Heard the drivers talking about how the cars were a little bit loose in the rear end, transitioning into the corners. Not a problem in the street stock. It's all tight all the time, so it's going to be fun.
It's gonna be an absolute blast. It so often is. And when you get down to these types of race cars, I mean, you can ask for absolutely no more than what we have on offer this afternoon. Everybody now has pulled the pit road. 60 seconds are left. Scott, I know you're a little bit biased, seeing as you're in the grid and right now on the front row. Do you have anybody pegged to win this race?
Yeah, that 49 car, he's going to smash it out of it. Yeah, absolutely.
You know what?
I reached in there and I turned the turbo up a lot for this race, so I hope they don't inspect me after the race.
You know what? I have no idea how I knew that was what it was going to be. Oh, it's a sixth sense. It must be. I have no idea how I could have possibly predicted that. That's interesting having one of our commentators in the car. The last time we had this was with Austin Edstrom for the Beer League Mud Jumper race over on Wednesday nights quite a while ago. With Toyota GR6s at the Wild West Motorsports Park. And let me tell you what, that was an awesome time, and I cannot wait to see how this is going to go this afternoon.
Yeah, there could be some, look, I'm going to try and minimize the expletives. I apologize to the viewers watching along at home, but I'm a passionate man when it comes to motor racing, so... But the big thing is, look, you know, it's all about pack racing. This is probably a little bit more difficult, I think, than the mini stocks, because the mini stocks you can sort of drop back a little bit, pick a few cars up, build that run. These guys sort of maintain the whole time. It's going to be inside dominance. Starting on the outside pole is actually probably the worst spot in the field to start. So if you're pole, great. If you're third, awesome. You've got a lot that you can possibly do. Outside pole, a lot more difficult.
Well, we're ready to get things underway for racing action this afternoon. The Monte Carlo of Brody Gunter starts up on pole alongside the Panthers C1 machine of Riot Sim Racing driver Scott Rankin. Match loss for Richter SRV is down to the number 3 spot alongside Carolina's Nate Morris. For ESGI Motorsports, it is Joshua Hagee alongside Travis Fleming. Out of Pennsylvania, Jake Erickson for the Carolinas starts in 7th with Work in Progress Racing's Corey Rutherford down in 8th. ESGI Motorsports driver Renee Garcia is back in 9th alongside Doug Ritzmacher for the Midwest. Then it is Casey Campbell, Joshua Rutherford, Alex Howland, and Mark Krinke to close out racing action once again for this Sunday afternoon. Ready to rumble once again as the engines fire and we're ready to roll.
Have a look at how close the qualifying times were across the field, though. That was even tighter than the mini stock. So that tells you got hardware underneath you that is exceptionally compliant. Biggest thing about these street stocks, though, 2 new variants were added, I think about 2 seasons ago, which has sort of opened things up. So, you know, we've got Panther, Eagle, I think Cougar is the 3rd one, but 3 different variants of the street stock body gives us something to work with. And the best part is these are scanned off of people's real life cars. And the thing about street stocks, they trade paints. There's dings and there's bumps and there's scrapes, and these really feel like a natural car. These aren't as clean and as polished as people want their perfect race cars to be. And it adds to the character of them.
We're going to work our way now once again towards the Geico restart zone. And once again, we are happy that you're joining us for some absolutely thrilling rides. You got the Eagle, you got the Casino, you got the Panther. Ready to do battle once again as we'll work our way into the quad oval. Green flags out, and it's all go once again in America's home for motorsports.
Got a good initial jump on that outside lane, I tell you what, Nolan.
Yeah, no kidding. He got a bit of a bump there
missed
going
the
for you.
shift.
Okay, well, you had one job. Nate Morris stacking it up. That whole outside lane checking as a result. Nate Morris, Garcia jumping from top to bottom, trying to go 3 wide up the middle. They are 3 wide. Deeper in the pack. Grutzmacher is in that middle lane. Garcia jumps up to the top side. Looking down low, Brody Gunter on an absolute tear. Schlosser's clear from the inside. Hagee jumps up to the top side of the racetrack, or Hagee jumps up to the top side. Rene Garcia hunting down for the inside line, and we are once again under full green flag racing action with 14 cars thundering through turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, have a look at how strong that inside lane is right now, though. The outside's going to build some momentum. It's going to be on me to do a lot of the pushing work. That miss shift cost us so much, and everyone's immediately not trusting the outside lane because of it.
So, no, I don't think they're not trusting the outside lane. I think they're not trusting you, is the more apt description. Rene Garcia jumping to the outside line. He's now going to lead the way. So all of a sudden, that old adage of don't push the pusher comes to mind, right, Scott? Now you got to be careful when you're trying to push Joshua Hagee up to the front. You got to be real careful now not to push him right over the back end of the 74.
Yeah, but I'm still going to put momentum on him. The biggest thing about draft pack racing is that the 3rd and 4th cars in the line tend to control the speed of the line. I'm going to be right there, giving him a little bit of energy, less so in the street stocks, but the closer I am to him, the faster this entire outside lane goes.
Brody Gunter has led every lap so far from the inside line. Right now, nobody dropping off the tail end. There's a small bit of separation, about 4.5 tenths, between Alex Howland and Corey Rutherford. Travis Fleming and Mark Krinke are right behind Corey Rutherford, but they have not yet lost the draft. And other than that little bit of 3 wide action we saw right out of the gate, it is just go, go, go with 2 wides of double file all the way down this racetrack. Coming down to the turn numbers 3 and 4. The 01, the 74, the main runners. The 09 and the 400, the main pushers. 3rd in line, Scott Rankin alongside Jake Erickson, and then, of course, Grutzmacher and Morris. They're starting to back off just a small bit, possibly in preparation.
I did see Grutzmacher actually miss the bottom on the way down into 3 and 4 back there. He sort of transitioned up into a middle, so it was a good thing there was a little bit of room on his outside for that to happen. Starting to form up in behind. You can see Nate Morris, winner of the mini stock race, has moved his way up through the field. Everyone's just bobbling about. Nobody's sort of real confident in holding a nice perfect line, and that says that there's a little bit to do in terms of these cars, but it's all about line. You've got to be running the shortest way around the racetrack. The outside lane's maintaining a little bit more momentum, but I ran a little bit higher line right there, lost too much momentum. It's taken me 3/4 of the front stretch to get close enough to these guys up ahead.
It's a very intense drive right now that a lot of folks are experiencing as they work their way steadily through. Right on board with Matt Schlosser, and the roar of these cars is immense as Schlosser slams into the back bumper of Brody Gunter, trying to shove him clear, especially now that Garcia and Joshua Hagee, they are looking to work up to the high side.
And you can see what I was talking about earlier on. Everyone's just sort of stuck at the moment. Not much you can really do. So what you're going to be doing, no tires, no spare tires. You got to save some tire, you got to save some fuel, right? To try and push yourself a little bit further forward. Could you imagine if we start getting green flag stops here? That would be amazing.
Green flag stops. It's not something you hear all that often when it comes to street stock racing, but it is a very real possibility, especially with how much those right sides are going to be hurting in about 5-10 minutes time here. Big question, though, how long can you run before you really need to even start considering it?
Well, I'm just looking at the fuel burn. I mean, we might be okay. We actually might not need a green flag stop. So it's a long run in terms of the fuel tanks, about 79 laps, and we're not going to get that amount of laps in.
Oh, behind Nate Morris, being given a bit of a tip up into the outside wall. Will go the 64 entry of Joshua Rutherford up into the outside fence in 2, drops to the tail end, has not yet lost the draft, but a close call coming around through turn 2 that time by. Right now, Brody Gunter continuing to lead the way, and Josh Rutherford will get up to speed. He'll tag onto the back end. We still have the entire field within 1.3 seconds of each other.
Really, really tight field here, and that's the big thing. And we had a good run off the 3 and 4, and Rene Garcia actually had his nose ahead when we came off of 4 into the start-finish line. So flag was thrown right there. Garcia get the win, but Gunter 1 and 2 on the run down through 1 and 2, a little bit stronger on that inside lane.
Yeah, Gunter with some good speed down the inside. It's a bit more difficult to try to make a reliable poke out to go for those types of moves. 24 minutes are left on the docket now. And already we've seen a lot of position swaps going on. One of the big movers though, Rene Garcia plus 7 spots already in just the first 6 minutes of racing action this afternoon.
He's really, really good at this super speedway style stuff, Nolan. You think back the last couple of stuff that we saw in the Next Gen Cup League, Garcia, every time there was a super speedway, was very, very strong, way up towards the points. So he's got a supreme super speedway knowledge. Pack racing seems to be his deal. So for him, and we saw it in the mini stocks earlier, moved his way. He's comfortable being aggressive. That's what it takes to win these things.
.5 minutes to go. Gunter has pulled clear from the low side. No longer double file with Rene Garcia up on the top. And still not seeing anybody really making any kind of super aggressive looks. It's been a relatively tame race as far as this style of race can go at a track like this. Haven't been seeing too much in the way of drama. I think everybody's really kind of settling in for the long haul here.
Yeah, that's really, really important. You've got to protect that right front. Cooler track conditions is actually a really, really cold track, as Higi just about got the barrier in front of me. So it's a cold track. That means they're going to hang on a little bit longer, but it also means there's a lot more grip on offer to the drivers as well. What that tends to do is a colder track creates a tighter car because your rear end's not wiggling about. It's not able to rotate off of the rear end. There's not so much slip angle. It means you wear the right front a little bit more as well.
Only 72 degrees Fahrenheit right now on the racetrack. One car gets shoveled out behind as the 73. Casey Campbell for the Speed Mafia crew having a little bit of a moment in that Thunderbird as he kind of had a, oh boy, I mean, it was a close shave. He's able, though, to get himself back up and rolling. Nate Morris, the mini stock winner, still has not been able to do too much, though.
Yeah, it's difficult to cut you. You really can't make moves to this pack. You got to settle yourself in, be in the right spot. Both of these lines are so even, you know, it's very, very difficult for one to pull clear.
So often it is 57 car of Jake Erickson washed up from the inside, just about half a lane or so. Quickly gets it dialed back down. Joshua Rutherford, we saw him get into the outside wall and kind of dropped to the back. He has started to claw his way back to the front. He has gotten around Krenke. He has gotten around Travis Fleming. Now he's on the outside of Alex Howland, linked up with the tail end of Corey Rutherford. So Joshua Rutherford is now really on the charge, trying to fight his way back through the field to work his way to the front.
There's a couple holes in the middle and the back of the pack though, Nolan. That's where you can make the moves. You can sort of back things up a little bit. But then again, it's sort of seeing and soaring, it's surging and waning. That's what it's all really about towards the front end. It's difficult. Guys up here can't really move because if we jump out of line, everyone loses, right? So it's a little bit further back where the moves can be done.
This Jake Erickson we're just on board with for a moment. Currently running in that number 5 spot. Down on the inside of the racetrack. This is about where it started to get crazy as well in the mini stock race. Just shy of that 10-minute mark into racing action this afternoon. There were only 2 cautions in that 30-minute race that we saw just a little while ago. To slow things down, bit of 3 wide at the tail end. Alex Howland getting muscled into the middle of the lane for the Miller Light Panther C1. But overall, able to make some move. Well, able to make kind of a bit more of a move, but that front end of the pack started the Constantina up. Right now, everybody separated by only 8.5 tenths of a second from first to last.
And the biggest thing I'm finding at the moment, Nolan, is when I get to Higi's rear bumper ahead of me, I've got to manage the throttle pressure. I'm actually not 100% throttle 100% of the time. You got to make sure, basically, I'm trying to maintain the same distance to his rear bumper, and you do that with throttle pressure management. And you can see Garcia's starting to pull ahead now.
And Garcia trying to inch out just a little bit more of a gap at the head of the field. But so far, it is looking to be a very hard-fought race for several. There's Brody Gunter still working the inside. Rene Garcia up to the high side. Hagee, Schlosser, Erickson, Rankin for the top 3 rows as it stands. Nate Morris and Grutzbach with a little bit of separation. Morris way up to the high side, almost into the outside wall, trying to follow in Rankin's tracks as he looks to try to get whatever kind of a draft he can get. We are over a third of the way to the end of this race, less than 20 minutes to go.
The biggest piece of advice I give Nate Morris right now, don't do whatever that car ahead of you do. That guy's not a good driver.
Right now, Morris, hopefully not texting and driving. Like, it's been an ever-present conversation in this league the last few weeks. But right now, Gunter and Garcia still remain the 2 main pushers, and I'm not seeing any reason why this is going to break apart anytime soon. This has been effectively a very strong start. The only reason I could see this shaking up is if Gunter or Garcia wants to pop out, drop to the back to save a bit of fuel. But as you mentioned, Scott, we should be good to go with the distance.
Yeah, fuel's of no concern. Tires, there is no more tires. So whatever we've got on these machines right now, that's what we got to the end of the race. So if these tires do start to come apart, do start to wear in the back half of the race, well, you better hope you save something because you've only got the set that's on the car.
The race that we got coming up next week is so different to what we got working for us this week as well. Just a completely new level of racing action. But you got to take into consideration everything that is going to be coming into play at Lanier, right? That's a dirt race. A dirt race at a track that's less than half a mile. Pretty much the direct polar opposite to this 1.5-mile pack race that we got this afternoon.
Yeah, completely different style of racing. The mini stocks are brilliant, and then sort of the dirt as well. Remember we were talking about how they rotated? They are such a handful of drive. I don't like the street stocks, not the little ones. The little ones are great. They're a fun little package to drive. But these cars right here on the dirt, again, they're big, they're heavy, they don't really want to rotate all that nicely. So, yeah, that's not my forte.
So are you saying you will not be racing in the street stock dirt race next week then?
I never said that, no.
So you're still going for stuff. You just got to make sure that you're a bit more prepared for what we got in store. Whoa, big bobble there for the outside line as Nate Morris jumps to the top side, and now Corey Rutherford trying to make it 3 wide up the middle. Pushed by Josh Rutherford. A bad bomb entering turn 3. Morris up to the high side, into the outside wall, and Corey Rutherford will take his place. Morris dropped off at the tail end, might lose the draft.
Yeah, the big thing, that actually all kicked off with Nate Morris getting into me on in 1 and 2. And the reason that happened is, again, we're talking about visibility. I was right on the back of Joshua Higgy, so I had to lift out so I didn't touch him. Well, Nate didn't have that visibility. He didn't have the ability to look down the track because he just couldn't see him through. He had no ability to judge how close I was to the back of the Higgy. I lift out, he got into the back of me. He had to then lift out, created the hole for Corey, and then the rest is history.
Everyone else still with some strong momentum runs as we work our way through this race. Riding on board now with Scott Rankin as you continue to fight your way through. Still running third in line on that outside groove. And so far, so clean. Hasn't had much to say this race for you. Erickson down to your inside. It's my job. You would.
Can you touch wood for me, please? Can you please reach over and touch a piece of timber?
I only have fake wood.
Oh, I'm dead. I'm dead in the water now. Thank you.
Yeah, I got an artificial wood desk. That's all I got for you here.
I'll take it. I'll take it. Thanks, thanks, Nolan. If I die, it's on you. Commentator's curse incoming.
15 minutes on the clock. 15 down, 15 to go. Brody Gunter still working up on the front side of the racetrack. Garcia still has not been able to really get up there and clear for the lead. And now Schlosser looking like he might start to clear for second here before too long.
Have a look at the push coming from Erickson, though. He's stepped his game up here just in the last minute or so, and that's the reason that inside lane's surging. He's starting to find the pace and the ability to push his way forwards.
Seeing now, though, more and more cars starting to wash up from the bottom side of the racetrack. Have those right sides started to go yet, or are we not yet at the danger point?
Well, I'm just having a look at Higi, and he's a really, really good marker of these sorts of things. He's moving around on the entry point. He's looking for the nose. There is a little bit of a splitter and a front downforce in these cars, and the biggest thing you can possibly do is give yourself some sort of air to that front splitter. So you got some downforce, you got something going to the road. He's struggling. His initial turn-in's generally quite good, and then it's the second phase of the corner whereby he struggles to get the car to stay down the racetrack is what he's having issues with. If you have a look at Grutzmarker to my inside, he's also come off the inside a little bit. So yes, there is a fraction of wear. It's not immense at the moment. It's not changing things too much, but yes, wear is starting to kick in.
You saw Jake Erickson really getting aggressive as well. I thought for a moment he was going to try to force it 3 wide up the middle of this battle pack. Right now, Higi working at the top side. Garcia really pinching in. Match Lawson trying to side draft him back a little bit as we march our way steady on. We're working lap 26, coming to 27. 14 minutes to go.
How good's the green flag racing, though? These cars this close together for this long, there's been so little contact. And it's still all green flag from here. And then you said, we're off to Lanier next week. Complete different style of racing. But again, same cars, same packages. What are we able to do next week?
Boy, oh boy. I mean, are we ever excited to see what is going to be coming on out for us in just 1 week's time at Lanier National Speedway. Gunter, Schlosser, Garcia, Erickson, Higi, Rankin, Grutzmacher, Campbell, Fleming, and Kricke for the top 10. It's such a unique schedule, and that was the idea, right? They wanted to make sure that every type of racing could be given its dues in the mini stocks and the street stocks. And I think they've done a darn good job of making quite a unique schedule that makes sure that all corners are touched.
Did you just say we're taking the mini stocks to a track with jumps in it? Because I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, I wish. You might have to ask the beer league for that.
I'm sure they would. But yeah, look, I mean, you know, even on road courses, these cars are a handful. They create something unique. You know, shifting through the gears regularly and repeatedly is not easy in these cars. You saw that from my race start. You know, just grabbing fourth gear. I got a bump at the wrong time, pushed the RPMs too high. I had to go for the clutch a second time to get the gear shift done. So, you know, that's experience. That's a little mistake, and it cost. That's the reason I'm not at the 20. And but again, to Rene Garcia, he took that opportunity. You know, he recognized there was no momentum in the outside lane early on. He cut his way to the inside lane, made the overtakes, then got to the head of the snake.
Erickson tracking up from the inside, nearly into the door there of both Scott Rankin and Joshua Higi. Further behind, Travis Fleming now trying to close up on that outside lane, howling this jump from bottom to top. Nate Morris has completely lost the draft now in this field. He has dropped off now about 4.5 seconds. Sorry, it is 5.5 seconds behind race leader Brody Gunter. Hoping for a caution, get himself back in contention. Now Fleming catches the wall of the approach to turn 1. Checks up Howland, but no problems so far. Scrubbed off a few miles an hour. Other than that, no harm, no foul.
Yeah, and for Nate Morris, it's starting to get a little bit, again, we're just talking about tire wear being a factor. 18 minutes into this race now, so we're now approaching the 2/3 marker. We're past the halfway mark, so tire wear is going to come in, it's going to be a thing, and I can just see so many different cars are now moving around more than they were a couple minutes ago.
That outside lane is fracturing big time as well, not nearly as much support on the top side of the racetrack. I think quite a few drivers started to lose confidence and fading more and more down to the inside lane of the racetrack. Not doing that top side any favors right now.
Yeah, but that's, you know, you just got to pick where you want to run. I think there's a few people looking at the cars moving around and going, hey, I don't want a part of this. You know, I want the ability, I want an escape route. The outside lane, if something happens, and we saw it in the mini stock race, outside fence. That's the only place you've got to go. The inside, you can at least cut down here on the front straight. You can cut across the grass. It's an incident point. That's fine. You'd rather have a car to race with than, you know, no incident points, basically, is the choice that you're making. But, yeah, look, it's difficult. This is starting to get a lot harder.
Coming to 10 minutes to go in about a lap and a half's time. Matt Schlosser shoving the back of Brody Gunter, still trying to force him clear. Could this race potentially go green to checkered? I didn't think it would, but without calm everything's been, it might just go that way.
Erickson is really, really struggling. I've just seen him move around a couple times on the last lap or so, so I think he might be in trouble.
Jake Erickson Still running that number 57 entry as he tries to get some kind of a run going. Still looking to link up to the back of Matt Schlosser. Did a good job at holding it relatively far down to the inside that time by. And now down to turn 3, he's still right on board. Wiggling around just a touch more, really kind of feathering that throttle, trying to see if he can get any kind of life into that car. And oh boy, he looking way to the outside of Garcia. Thought he was going to try to make 3 wide around the top side for the lead.
It's real difficult though. You cannot, as soon as you move a half lane up, you can't get the pass. So, oh boy, here we go.
Oh, hang on. Schlosser up into Garcia. Ericsson up into Higgy. They're able to keep things sorted though. Under 10 minutes to go, and that aggression is mounting, as is the tire wear.
Somebody's just jumped into the outside lane. Is it Campbell? It might be Mark Krunke who's actually just jumped in the outside lane. So everyone's starting to form up again. Here comes the speed.
Mark Krinke has jumped to the outside line, tucks in between Rankin and... oh, look out! Gunter hard to the outside wall, spun down to the bottom side. Rankin's involved, Higgy's involved. Garcia catches the outside wall. That wreck comes out of nowhere. Both Rutherfords are involved. It's the big one in turn 1.
And Matt Schlosser just jumped on the radio and just apologized. So it's a bad bump from Schlosser, I think. So...
Scott, I hate to tell you this, you don't have a front end at all. Whole nose clip is gone.
Yeah, the front right's also off the car as well. That's racing. That's street stocks here. There's nothing more anyone could have done. That's just racing. It was going to happen eventually. Whether it happened now or whether it happened later is just the question of it.
Wild crash up into turn number 1. There's the bad bump from Schlosser. Turns Gunter to the outside wall. And it was just complete pandemonium. There was only about 5 or 6 cars that made it through that. One of those is Alex Howland. He with a huge hit into the wall.
Yeah, that's just if we remember what I was just saying a couple moments ago about how you want to be on the inside lane when that happens. You got a bunch of room to work with. Well, yeah, that played out perfectly to fruition.
Gonna get a ride on board, both with one Travis Fleming and with Alex Howland. Let's ride on board first here with Howland and show you how the number 2 car escapes disaster. Hard to the brakes, check up, scrapes to the inside, and smooth sailing for him. Now this is what happened to Travis Fleming. He was a little ways off, had the chance to check up for the wreck. Still went in full speed, kicks the tail end out, just avoids he comes down the racetrack.
Good news is I get an opportunity to give you a read on the tire state here in just a few moments. So, look, my race is done. We'll be calling the rest of this one from the booth, not from the driver's seat. But boy, that was just a big one. Again, you just see there's just nowhere to go.
Yeah, it's just a tough break all around. Sucks that both Rutherfords ended up getting caught up in that as well. Well, this race is going to be restarting, I think, with less than 5 minutes to go. We're about to get crazy up in here.
Yeah. Like I said, it's just it was getting crazy. In fact, I think it had already gotten crazy. So, hey, look, I mean, it's tough racing. There's not a lot in that one. That's difficult racing. The difficult part here is that if you're not pushing that hard, it's you're not going anywhere. So it's a lot of risk, it's a lot of responsibility on the shoulders of Matt Schlosser, but that's how you win races. So he went out there, he drove it hard, he tried to push as best as he possibly could, and we ran it clean for 35 laps, and eventually it ran out.
Schlosser managed to escape that, save a bit of a ding to the front end. Grutzmacher with no damage. Ericsson up in third has had his nose punched in a little bit. Campbell's had his nose punched in, so has Krinke. Not a lot of cars here without any damage.
Yeah, it's just a big one. You saw it, the track was blocked effectively for a few moments there, so there was no good decisions, and you just pick a lane and hope. Look at the damage to Krinke's car there, and effectively what's going on here is that Matt Schlosser has claimed responsibility for the caution with the bad bump, so he's taken that one, and good sportsmanship, he's going to the rear.
So that puts Grutzmacher now up front. Realistically, the only car out of all of that didn't get a single piece of that was at the front. The only other two cars that could boast the same, Howland and Fleming, they were far enough back they could jump on the binders enough to avoid it.
Yeah, you remember me saying that as well. You know, one of the biggest things for Nate Morris was that he dropped the draft, right? So there was no way for him to file into that accident. He's got a clean car. He's got the ability to potentially win 2 here. That would be amazing.
It really would, no kidding. I mean, there's still a long way to go, though, in racing action here this afternoon. We're going to come down to turn numbers 3 and 4. 10 cars remain on the racetrack, all of them with the lead. Lap 4 minutes of racing action. This race, if we get another yellow, will most likely end under caution. Grutzmacher jumps the restart before the zone, and we're back to green. And there we go, already wrecking.
Who was that? No, it's Alex Howland that got turned down to the infield.
Yeah,
and,
by Krinke. What the heck happened here?
A misshift. It was a misshift.
Oh, yeah. Man, ugh, that's unfortunate. Good save, though, from Howland.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Casey Campbell just got a bad bump front. I think that might have been Gunter who gave it to him.
Shove Campbell down to the inside. Schlosser's able to break through. The top two have just taken off with this race. Grutzmacher out by a second now over Jake Erickson. Erickson himself about 6/10 ahead of Brody Gunter. If these guys want a chance to win, they got to start working together here.
Well, they got to go now. So these cars take so long to build the momentum back up. They've basically got to go now. The difficulty for Ericsson is what does he have underneath him? He's dropping Grutzmacher. So that says Grutzmacher's got a clean car. Ericsson has got like a 98% car, but that couple percent is the difficulty. Now they'll all slot in, and Goods has just got the momentum. He's got to go. He recognizes he's got to be aggressive, and have a look at the swing to the top side for Fleming's going to try and go around the outside.
Travis Fleming picks off that 57 car. They perfectly split him. Now Fleming can try to, Erickson can try to cling on with the draft. A second and a half, but now look, now they've got some draft momentum. That gap is coming down.
They just took a 10th out of our race leader, Grutzmacher. The problem is he's got to run, he's got to hide. It's like a game of hide and seek. There is only so much time left in the session. It's 2 minutes and 5 seconds. It's under 2 minutes and 5 seconds. Can they find the momentum they need? It's down to 1.4 seconds. It was out over 1.5. Who's got the momentum? Who's going to make it? Who's going to get the job done? About
3 or 4 laps are left. They got to be really in half a second, a lap or more. The fact that they are side by side is killing them right now. Fleming has got to let them go again in line, or none of them have a chance to win.
Well, I think the reason that Fleming's still out there is he recognizes they're not going to get there. So this is actually about racing for position for him. Can he go ahead and nick a second place? He's got no support. Somebody's going to jump out there and give him a hand. Is it going to be Nate Morris? It might just be Nate Morris. No, he's going to stay in line. But Nate Morris is going to do some pushing here. It's down to 1.2. They took 0.2 out of Grutzmacher on that lap. It's not going to be enough.
Down and further down the 01 car. Struggling to hang on there within 1.15 seconds. It'll be 2 laps the distance at the line. A long way to go in this one. The 26 car tracking up. Really side-drafted that 01, trying to yank him back. Schlosser is backing up, might be trying to make a run himself. There goes Erickson trying to jump to the high side.
No. You know what? They just picked up the draft. It'll be 2 laps left to run for sure. They will get the second lap in, but they've just started picking up the draft from Grutzmacher. So here comes the momentum build. It's got to be a lot. Now, Nate Fleming's not quite able to get it done. He tries to split it. He can't do it. Here comes Schlosser.
Schlosser trying to make the charge. Fleming right now. Oh, how about this? Schlosser abandons Gunter, jumps up to the top side.
Well, what about a start to the season? The Winter Series, it put on many stocks. Now it's put on street stocks. Here we go. One more time, Nolan.
Final lap at America's home for motorsports. I don't think they're gonna get there. Dylan Grutzmacher so far out in front, and with them side-drafting each other like there's no tomorrow, I think this race is done and dusted. Grutzmacher working down the back straightaway for the final time this afternoon. It's all going to be the fight for second on back. Whoa, boy, they're almost wrecking, looking for 3 wide for the number 2 spot. Gunter gets clear. Gunter's clear. Can he run him down in 3 and 4? Grutzmacher trying to hang on off the final corner. Fleming is turned, trying to dump Dave Morris, and they'll come to the line. Grutzmacher takes the W.
It was all about that restart for Dylan Grutzmacher. He got it at the restart. He got a huge jump out in front, and I tell you what, it was enough by 0.2 of a second. One more lap wouldn't have been there.
What a wild ride this afternoon. The fireworks explode off of turn number 2 on the back straightaway. An absolutely intense run to the line, and I think behind there was a bit of a fist fight going on between Fleming and Ericsson. We'll have to get a look at that again as Grutzmacher takes another trip across the start-finish line.
And the other thing I just heard, Nolan, is that Dylan just said that's his first win of 2024. There are 24 days, 24 days left in the year. I was going to say, what? There's 24 days left to Christmas? No, there's less than that. There's about 17 days left to Christmas. There's 24 days left in the year. He left it late, but he gets at least one win for 2024.
Well, you know what they say, right? Better late than never.
I mean, he's been close. If you have a look back at the last couple of next-gen races after he joined the series, he was building. He wasn't immediately quick and immediately on it straight out of the gate, but he was there and he was thereabouts, right? And that's the big key. And he learned. And he kept learning, and he kept learning, and he kept learning. And again, same thing to Nate Morris. A lot of people will say that's a lucky victory. And there is an element of luck in it. There's an element of luck in all racing. There always is. But when that luck slides your way, if he hadn't have jumped that restart so hard, he wouldn't have won that race. One more lap, and Gunter gets it.
Take a look at this come to the line. I mean, I think, look at Fleming's wheels. He's trying to dump him at the tri-oval there.
Yeah, he's not happy at all, and he polishes him off after the line. So he was just looking for some support. If he gets any support up in that top lane, anything else could happen.
Look at the wheel. You saw his hand disappear. Yeah. He is trying to take him out. I think he's angry at the fact that he kind of, I think he thinks he was wrong here. And I mean, we'll take another look at this. Watch Morris from the bottom side. Starts to wash up just a touch. Do you think that's warranted?
It's close racing on the last lap. It's tempered. He's been in a great spot. He's been sitting in second and third for the entirety of that last run. Felt like he could have got a podium here tonight. Do you disagree? I mean, he was there and thereabouts. That's street style racing, though. You got to get out of the groove slightly. And the other side of the coin is, if he gets support at any stage throughout that run, he's got a shot at a win.
Well, whatever happened, and what stays in Charlotte will stay in Charlotte. We'll take a rundown of your official post-race results once again, this time for the street stock race. This afternoon, Grutzmacher with the dub ahead of Brody Gunter and Matt Schlosser. Nate Morris picks up fourth, with Travis Fleming in fifth, and it was Ericsson, Hege, Howland, Campbell, and Krinke to round out the top spots, with Mark Krinke not finishing this race.
From there on back, it is going to be 11th place, Rene Garcia, myself down 9 laps down. These are all the cars that were caught up in that big wreck. Joshua Rutherford and Corey Rutherford both not finishing the race as well.
What a wild race we had here this afternoon. We'll get the chance to take a rundown and give a chat, of course, to everybody that took part in racing action this afternoon. And we'll look to kick it off first and foremost with one Dylan Grutzmacher, the man in the 388 that's going to be able to come home with the dub this afternoon. It's a big day for him, and we okay, we will be able to talk to Dylan Grutzmacher. Finally tracked him down a bit deeper in the channels, but it's a big day for Dylan. Dylan, they say better late than never. Your first win of 2024, and it comes with less than a month to go on the calendar year. Talk us through this one this afternoon, and welcome to Victory Lane.
Yeah, it was definitely a pucker factor with that big wreck. I don't know how I made it through that with the 0x, and I knew I had to go hard on that restart, so that's why I went as soon as the pace car was off.
Overall, kind of it was kind of a wild mad dash all the way from the finish. You jumped it, like you mentioned, as soon as the safety car pulled off, and were you ever worried you were going to be run down when they were side by side behind you like that?
Oh yeah, I was watching the time, and I was like, this is going to be close, and I was like 2 laps, and all of a sudden it was like, there's still 2 laps. That was the slowest last 5 laps of my life.
And well, we are going to be looking set now for dirt racing action coming on up just 1 week from today. How do you think you're going to be handling things on the dirt with that 388?
Well, haven't raced the mini stock. That was my first race on the mini stock, the last race we just did, and I've never raced it on dirt, so that's going to be interesting there. It's been a while since I ran street stock, so I'm going to focus on that this week and get some practice in.
Sounds like a solid plan. I wish you the best of luck, and when we return, it'll be back to racing action at Lanier in mini stocks and street stocks. Congratulations on your first win of 2024.
Appreciate it. You guys have a good night.
Dylan Grutzmacher comes home with the #1 spot here this afternoon. We'll bring up Brody Gunter, the man of self-defending Cup Series champion, standing by with Scott Rankin with the runner-up spot tonight.
Mate, interesting race here tonight in both the street stocks and the mini stocks. Obviously, big draft pack, 1.5 mile track, little engines. These things don't make up a whole bunch of momentum to the point whereby they can really string out the passes, and that leads to tense moments at the front end of the field. Gets a little bit dumped in both of those races here tonight. I mean, talk us through it from mini stocks right the way through.
It sucked leading basically just throughout the night. Mini stocks, I felt like being the leader wasn't the best thing. Thankfully, I didn't have to worry about fuel, but it was kind of hard to get away, nothing really to do. So when I saw Renee, I think it was Renee, was fast on the high side, and finally it was clear, so I went for it. He decided to make it 3 wide, which is kind of surprising. I was kind of stuck just fighting for my life until there was net code contact between me and Mike. Took the penalty because I was done no matter what. 18 minutes of required repair. I knew I was done either way, so took the penalty just because I was already out of the race. Second race, pole again. I already knew how it was going to be. It was just leading up front, battling with the guy on the outside, trading back and forth until finally I saw Slosher got a little too high and tried to come down, and the pointy nose clipped my rear bumper. I thought I was okay because I didn't hit the wall, didn't really hit much, only got a slight 4x. Nope, still a minute repair of damage, got that done, and came back through to almost get the lead. Just sadly, draft packs aren't that much of an advantage of these cars.
In terms of the racing overall, would you say that this is a little bit of a win, a little bit of a breakaway from the next gen, and something different? A lot of guys, a lot of opportunities to work on draft pack style racing here tonight. Next week we're heading to dirt as well, so a couple different formats, something fun, something to let the hair down.
I was definitely treating this more like a fun thing. Obviously, it's a short little series, so treating it more little bit fun. Not really concerned about points, all that, until like I'd say the halfway point. That's when you'd see, hey, can I actually go for this or not? How am I doing? Stuff like that. So wasn't really too concerned with the points or like competitiveness obviously tonight. So just was kind of just here to have fun. Just sadly couldn't have as much fun in the first race.
Mate, pleasure to see you out there on track once again. Who gets it done for you and the team?
Music production, CGI graphics, 510 Racing, Green Flag TV, and everyone at ASRL. Also, I just want to say, fun racing with you. I forgot to do that for once. I haven't had the race.
Don't say that, man. I missed a shift on that initial restart, like that initial start. Not fun. Yeah. The only reason Renee got up there, my mistake. So you can thank him for that.
Yeah, it sounds good. Good race to you either way.
And with that, we'll look to bring up Matt Schlosser for the second time this afternoon, as we'll bring the 400 car up into the broadcast booth. And Matt, it was looking to be in a bit of a good drive this afternoon, and sure enough, you take double podiums this afternoon. Kind of walk us through this one, because this race got a little hectic right at the end there.
Yeah, first of all, sorry to Brody and pretty much everyone for The bad bump draft that caused that pile up, that was just a mistake on my part, just screwed up, lapse in concentration. So apologies for that. It was tough to kind of like make progress. We were just all kind of bump drafting and pushing, and I was wondering if anyone was going to try to do like a 3 wide or something. The tires were starting to fall off a little, like we were sliding around, and I thought maybe if somebody, you know, just misses the corner a little bit, it could open up the door for someone to get inside. But yeah, that all changed with the caution, and then you know, I was able to kind of work my way back up and get to third, which was good, solid night, 2 podiums, so I'll take that.
Overall, a very solid opening weekend for you for the ASRL Winter Series. You took a 2nd place in race 1 tonight, a 3rd place in race 2, so you're going to be right up at the front in both the mini stock and the straight stock series. And I think for the overall championship, that should net you the points lead, I would imagine. Looking like it might be a title run for you then potentially. Is that going to be the case coming over the next 5 weeks?
Yeah, I'll go for it. I'm going to plan to run all the races, so I'll do my best. It'd be cool to get a little mini championship here, so I'll try, and I'll try not to wreck anyone else along the way. So we'll see how it goes.
Sounds like a very solid plan to me. Matt, as always, a pleasure to be able to have you up here at the broadcast booth. Congratulations on double podiums this afternoon, and we will look to see you again when we go racing further on into the season at the Dirt next week.
Sounds good. I'll see you guys next week.
Matt Schlosser comes home with the number 3 spot here this afternoon, and well, Scott, that effectively brings it home for us here this afternoon. What a wild way, though, to kick off the Winter Series season. And next week might be a bit more crazy than tonight because it's the lone dirt race that we got on the calendar.
Yeah, just to add something a little bit more spicy, a little bit different. And the big thing about next week is that with these 2 different kind of cars, they tend to drive relatively similar. On the dirt, they're going to be nothing alike. So it's going to be a real unique race next week.
Sure will. Before we get to all of that, though, there's still more racing action coming on up over the next over the next little while. You, of course, are going to be having the big race. That'll be at Michigan International Speedway for the High Titan Race League MF Racing Designs Premier Series. On Wednesday night, Alex Coffer tries to close out the championship 1 week early at Interlagos with the Beer League on round number 8 of 9. Then on Saturday, the SRA IL Truck Series will be back out at Homestead Miami Speedway for preseason action. Scott Rank will be back in the booth with me for races 2 through 4 for the preseason runs for the Saturday Night Truck Series. Want to find out more about who we are, what we can offer you? Check us out today at www.greenflagtv.com. As always, my name is Nolan Rempel. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you all next week when we go racing at Lanier.